Welcome and good evening to the April 25th, 2013 City of Raytown Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. It's great to see a full house. We are often here with a room full of empty chairs, and this tonight represents what the public process is all about. So thank you for taking time out of your schedules to attend this evening. Ms. Dodd, to get the meeting started, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Bettis?
Here.
Mr. Lightfoot?
Here.
Mr. Jimenez? Mr. Robinson?
Here.
Ms. Hopwell? Here. Stock is here. Mr. Fields?
Here.
Mr. White? Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Dodd. Next on our agenda is approval of meeting minutes. There's none showing from previous meetings, so we'll move straight through old business. There's none appearing this evening on the agenda. That takes us to our new business this evening. And our new business is an application seeking to rezone properties located at 6200 Blue Ridge Boulevard, 10,028 East 63rd Street and 10,016 East 63rd Street from a neighborhood commercial and town square overlay district to a neighborhood commercial district and planned zoning overlay district. The case number this evening is PZ 2013-004. The applicant this evening is Wal-Mart Stores Incorporated. At this time, we will open the public hearing, and we do have a few housekeeping items to present to the audience this evening. First and foremost, we do have a sign-in sheet that's over here at the table where you entered the chamber this evening. For those of you who wish to speak before the commission this evening, if you would please sign in. And once the public comments are open, we'll have everybody come up one at a time and speak. In regards to speaking this evening, it is part of the planning and zoning bylaws that people wishing to speak for or speak in whatever regards to this application have 5 minutes. We do have a timer set up. It will be at 4 minutes. So we will, make a gesture at that point to wrap up your comments. If you're a group, or if you are representing a group of 3 or more, we ask that, per the bylaws, you have 15 minutes to speak. Anyone that is speaking this evening needs to identify themselves by name and address for public record. So with that, we will officially call this public hearing open. We have explained the procedures. At this time, we will ask all those that are going to be speaking to please stand and take the truth of oathfulness from our city attorney.
If you intend to speak this evening, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you shall give to this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. Okay, with our case this evening, we do have some exhibits to enter into the record. And these include an application for a conditional use permit, conceptual site plan 1G dated April 5th, 2013, Wal-Mart Neighborhood Market Perspective Image Sheets 1, 2, and 3 dated February 1st, 2013, proposed site design elements sheet dated April 9th, 2013, proposed building design standards dated April 11th, 2013, a letter from Mark Bryant to John Benson and Tom Cole dated February 8th, 2013, the Raytown Central Business District Streetscape Master Plan, the public hearing notices published in the Daily Record newspaper, the public hearing notice sent to property owners within 185 feet of the subject property, and the City of Raytown zoning ordinances amended. We also have the City of Raytown comprehensive plan and a staff report dated April 25th, 2013. At this time, I ask of our commissioners if there's any ex parte communication to please speak up on those items now. Ms. Dot.
Okay, I received 2 emails from the Downtown Raytown Group. I received a mailing from Sue Frank and a mailing from the Raytown Main Street Association. And I spoke with Paula Cannon and Jim Barnes.
Thank you, Ms. Dot.
However, this will not in any way affect the way I'm going to vote.
Thank you. Mr. Lightfoot.
I have had ex parte communications with lots of people, a variety of people, everyone she named, plus another list. That will not affect my voting in tonight's matter anyway whatsoever.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. Hartman.
I also received, one email and the packet from Mayor Frank. Other than that, there was no response.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bettis.
I also received similar stuff to Mrs. Stock. Did not, I had conversations with different people, various people whom I can't name right now, and it will not affect my voting.
Thank you. Ms. White.
I had the same emails that she mentioned downtown, our investigation. I had an email from Todd, the Sue Frank mailing, and a few other people that had been saying something.
Thank you. Mr. Fields.
I'd like to add my list to the numerous emails that I received, which,
Thank you, Mr. Fields. Anyone else? Okay, yes.
I've had emails from the same people that been mentioned already, Doreen, and the Blackmore email, and numerous comments from people. But they should not affect my deliberation.
Thank you. I too have received an email dated March 29th from Sue Frank, an email April 19th from Tom Doherty, and an email from the Downtown Business Group dated April 24th. And these items will not impact my ability to weigh in on this case this evening. Okay, with that, Mr. Benson, would you please do an introduction of the application?
Thank you, I'd be happy to. This application is from Wal-Mart Stores Incorporated, which is seeking approval of this rezoning, to rezone a 4.5 acre area of land located at 6200 Blue Ridge Boulevard. It also includes 2 additional properties at 10028 East 63rd Street, which is more commonly known as Walnix, and 10016 East 63rd Street, which is directly west of the Walnix property. The rezoning, as you mentioned earlier, proposes to change the zoning from neighborhood commercial and town store overlay district to neighborhood commercial and planning district overlay. The rezoning is being sought as the applicant wishes to construct a Walmart neighborhood market and grocery store on that property. Just a little bit of background in regards to the planned zoning overlay district. Section 16 of the city's zoning ordinance specifies that when an application seeking to rezone property to a planned district is submitted, a development plan or regulations related to the development of that property need to be submitted along with that. In this regard, the applicant has submitted a conceptual site plan 1G, which is dated April 5th, 2013, along with the prospective image sheets 1, 2, and 3, which were dated February 1st, 2013. The proposed site design elements dated April 9th of this year, and the proposed building design elements dated April 11th of this year. The submitted conceptual site plan 1G is not the final site development plan for the property. Rather, the applicant is seeking approval of this rezoning with that conceptual site plan and design standards at this time. If the application is approved, for rezoning is approved, a final site development plan for development of the property will then be required to be submitted by the applicant for review and approval by the city, which will have more detail, will include, or be required to include more detail on the site topography as well as building elevation drawings, traffic study, storm drainage calculations, those types of materials for information. That information, again, again, if this application is approved, when that information will be submitted, it will also be required to be submitted to the city for review and approval prior to the project moving forward beyond that point. So with that, I will turn it over or back to you, and the applicants are here obviously tonight too. I know they have a presentation to give you.
Thank you, Mr. Benson. This time, that applicant would like to step forward and make their presentation.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, my name is Mark Bryant. I'm an attorney with the law firm of White Goss. We, on occasion, have the privilege of representing Wal-Mart with respect to certain land use matters, and I'm here tonight with a team of individuals who have been instrumental in the planning of a proposed store at 62nd and Blue Ridge Boulevard. Those individuals include Jeff Clayton, who has been before your Board of Aldermen before with respect to the purchase of the land. Bill Boyden, who is with BRR Architecture and is instrumental in the design of the proposed store, as well as Rick Rolfing, who is with BFA Engineering, which is the firm which did the engineering for the proposed store. Let me add, these gentlemen have a great deal of experience with respect to the design and construction of Walmart supercenters and Walmart neighborhood markets, and I am honored to be a part of their team. We would like to begin by thanking the Planning and Zoning Commission for holding this special meeting, and to thank you for your service to this community and for the time that you devote to these important matters. We would also like to thank your city staff, who have met with us over the course of many, many months to try to craft a site plan that conforms as much as possible to your central business district design guidelines. In particular, both John Benson and Tom Cole have devoted many, many hours to this endeavor, and we assure you that every effort has been made to ensure that your central business district guidelines are adhered to as much as possible. We'd also like to thank them for their adherence to the confidentiality agreement that is part of the real estate purchase agreement between the city and Walmart. That agreement requires that parties keep the name of the proposed purchaser confidential, and that promise was respected and very much appreciated. We're here today to talk about a piece of ground that is very important in Raytown. It is I'm sorry, I'll do my best. We're here tonight to talk about a very important piece of ground in Raytown. This is the continuation of a discussion that began in the spring of 2012. At that time, the city entered into a conditional sales contract for the site of the old First Baptist Church at 62nd and Blue Ridge. And at that time, the city announced that JMC Realty, through a conditional purchase agreement with the city of Raytown, was preparing the ground for a 40,000 square foot retail single tenant on a 3.7 acre site. At that time, it was announced that the project should generate somewhere between 60 and 90 new jobs in Raytown. Further, it was announced that the sales price for the land was $650,000, and that amount is some $150,000 greater than the appraised value of this land. That sale will not occur unless this rezoning is approved. We're here tonight to seek your rezoning, and we'd like to explain what it is that we're asking you to do. The land is currently zoned Neighborhood Commercial District. That is the underlying zoning district for that plot of land. It has an overlay district for what's called a town square. We're not asking you to change the underlying zoning district. That underlying zoning district provides for a grocery store, and it requires no change. This request from Wal-Mart Business Trust is consistent with your current zoning, and it is consistent with your zoning code. What your zoning code says in section 16 is this. It says that any district may be designated as a planned district by adding thereto the designation P. This P designation may be affixed to a district at the applicant's request or by the Board of Aldermen at its own initiative. Your zoning code also says, and it was a change made at the same time that the town square overlay district was created. It says that this planned district is part of the code because it is extremely difficult to draft design guidelines that will suit every potential commercial use. And in instances like that, the P designation is afforded so that the Plans and Zoning Commission, your city staff, and the Board of Aldermen will have the latitude and flexibility to, in a limited number of instances, vary the requirement to suit the circumstances. We're here tonight to suggest the circumstances do warrant the P designation. This zoning, again, is necessary to enable the city to consummate the sale. Wal-Mart stirs a lot of controversy, but it is an applicant that is here tonight asking you to approve a modification in the zoning designation and is not seeking any public subsidy whatsoever. No TIF, no CID, no Transportation Development District, no request for tax abatement. Wal-Mart is here and prepared to pay its part of taxes to support our local schools, our libraries, our vision for downtown Raytown. The Central Business District Design Guidelines were adopted in 2002. They are now more than 10 years old. They were adopted at a time when there was a different economic climate. They were adopted at a time when the real estate market was vastly different than it is today. The design guidelines are not ironclad rules. They are guidelines that have been devised to guide development, not stifle development. Please understand that Wal-Mart is not here seeking an exemption from the Central Business Design Guidelines. We have spent numerous hours and meetings in an effort to conform this plan as close to the Central Business District Design Guidelines as they possibly can be. At the end of the day, those guidelines have functioned and performed precisely as they were designed to. They have guided this development, they have guided the comments of your staff, and they have guided what Wal-Mart has done in an effort to comply with them. And that was the purpose. Your downtown district consists of 6 square blocks. This zoning proposal relates to 1. It is one incremental element in what we hope will be the redevelopment of your downtown. Wal-Mart would like to be a part of that. And we're here to suggest that we can be an important part of it. We're suggesting that you take fallow land and put it to a good retail use. A retail use that will generate a significant amount of new sales and property taxes that can then be devoted to the streetscapes, the landscapes, the flowers, the benches, the furniture that everyone would like to see in a redeveloped downtown. Wal-Mart is an important part of that effort and is ready to generate the means by which the city can then make the improvements that it would like to see. Your favorable recommendation tonight is not final. What your favorable recommendation will do is to enable Wal-Mart to then go and perform the traffic studies, the drainage studies, present the landscape plans that are required by your code for your staff's consideration and for your consideration. The final site plan will come back before you, as it will your board of aldermen. In each case, be it a NCTS district or an NC-P district, the ultimate responsibility for what this site looks like rests in the sound discretion of this commission and your board of aldermen. We therefore ask you for your favorable consideration and your approval of this requested rezoning. Thank you very much for your patience. With me tonight are both Bill Boyden and Rick Rolfing, the engineer and the architect, who are available to answer any technical questions that there may be with respect to either the site plan or the design of the store. With that, members of the commission, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bryan. At this time, is there any comments from the architect or engineer that you'd like to make?
Good evening. My name is Rick Rolfing. I am the site civil engineer for Wal-Mart. My company name is Bisher Frankenberg Associates, also a BFA. Been working for Wal-Mart, site engineer for them for almost 20 years now. As Mr. Bryant mentioned, we have been working with staff, conference calls, as I'm not local to the area. I'm more from the Washington or St. Louis area, over several months. And the reason we're here tonight is Wal-Mart has an interest in this piece of property that does sit mostly vacant today. When we first came in with our first site plan, there have been many iterations of that site plan. We've received and appreciated many staff comments. Tried doing this. Can you move your entrance here? We did look at many of those things. All of those things we've looked at, and for whatever reason, and we had great reasons why we can't do some of them. Again, we're here tonight requesting a rezoning. While we do comply with a number of the items in the city zoning codes, as is presented in staff's report, we just have come to the realization that we cannot comply with all of them. And that's where we are coming before you tonight to present our site plan and our proposed project development for your consideration so that we can move forward. The site plan before you tonight, 1G, is the current site plan. If approved, that would be pretty much in conformity of what we would be developing our detailed design plans based upon. As that meets the safety requirements and concerns that Wal-Mart has, it meets our access needs, our design guidelines, our facility will be able to operate with that layout, and also design grades. The site is a difficult site to design. It has 10 plus feet of fall from the north to the south, 11 feet from the east to the west. We have to tie in on all aspects of the site. We are proposing retaining wall at the back of the store, which can also be used for screening purposes as well. Along with the detailed design plans, again, that would be based on the layout shown in Sketch 1G, we would be preparing, as we do with every project, a traffic study, the stormwater calculations, a thorough landscape and irrigation plan, site lighting photometric plans. All of those things will be prepared, provided that the rezoning is granted based on the Sketch 1G. With that, if there are any questions later, after Mr. Boyden, our architect, speaks, our team is here to answer any more specific questions that this commission may have, and I appreciate your time.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Bill Boyden, and I'm with the firm BRR Architecture, 6700 Antioch Plaza, Merriam, Kansas. Architects for Wal-Mart Stores Incorporated for more than 20 years, and we have been selected as the architect of record for this proposed Wal-Mart neighborhood market. I have worked on Wal-Mart projects for more than 15 years, entitled and designed several hundred stores, both supercenter and neighborhood market alike. This 40,000 square foot grocery store has an internal pharmacy and a outside drive-up pharmacy window. The grocery store will be constructed of intricately colored split-face CMU with EIFS trim, storefront glazing, and windows. The single entry to this structure is both entry and exit. We call it a vestibule, and it's situated on the left front facade. The facade of the grocery will feature the vestibule, as I've said, a canopy for protection from the elements, true vision glass windows and doors, louvered metal awnings, raised seated planter beds in front, additional architectural details with stone wingcoats, columns, decorative metal awnings, vertical plane changes, and color panel variations. The panelized sections will utilize varied parapet heights and incorporate flash capping and decorative cornice. The right side of the grocery store, facing Blue Ridge Boulevard, will feature the drive-through pharmacy with its vision window. Substantial landscape buffering, additional architectural columns with stone wainscots, metal awnings, and plane changes with color panel variations. Again, the panelized sections will utilize various parapet heights and incorporate flash capping and decorative cornice per the design. The left facade of the grocery store, facing Raytown Road, will feature true vision glass windows with louvered awnings, additional architectural details with stone wainscots, decorative metal awnings, plane changes with color variations, and again, those panels will feature varied raised parapets with decorative and cap flashing. The rear of the store, the grocery store facing 62nd Street, will house and completely screen the loading dock and an internally fed trash compactor, each with a 10-foot masonry screen wall, again with the integrally colored split-face CMU and the decorative concrete
cap and a decorative concrete cap. The plane changes provide opportunities for color variation on the rear. The loading dock, which is 2 bays wide, is designed to completely screen truck trailers when they are in the recessed docks. The grocery store design will provide for rooftop screening from each of the abutting property lines. With your approval this evening, we're prepared to provide very detailed elevations, samples of materials, and any other items that staff feels would be helpful for you to make a final decision on the project, and we look forward to your approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the Wal-Mart team this evening? Okay. Okay, at this time, Planning and Zoning Commission opens the floor to public comment. Again, for those of you that may have arrived late, there is a sign-up sheet at the door. We ask that you please fill that out. For anyone that came in late that wishes to speak this evening, we do have an oath of truthfulness that we ask that you take with the city attorney. Anybody missing that, if you stand at this time, if you plan on speaking. Okay, none appearing. Okay. Stand back up, please.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you shall give to this commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
Thank you. Just as a quick review, for those speaking this evening, the time limit is 5 minutes for individual comments. We will have a timer that goes off 4 minutes in to signify the need to wrap up comments. We would ask that anybody that's speaking on behalf of a group of 3 or more, please identify yourself and identify the group that you're speaking on behalf of. And those individuals will have 15 minutes to speak before the Planning and Zoning Commission sees. With that, I invite you to line up and come forward and provide us your comments regarding this application. Okay, don't be shy. Come on forward.
Are we going to go in order of how we signed on the sheet?
We're going to go in order of how you're lined up.
Okay. My name is Edna Scahill. I have been a resident in Raytown for 45 years. So Raytown is very dear to my heart, as I know that all of the people sitting in this room feel the same way about Raytown. My address is 7400 Maple Drive, apartment 407. First off, I would like to say I really appreciate the time that this zoning board has spent on this issue, and the Board of Aldermen, and especially from a personal standpoint to Mayor David Bauer for spending a large amount of time trying to explain to me what all this is involving. I've also talked with Sue Frank, and so I have gotten a lot of information about this issue. What I need to say is that in absorbing all of this information, I have to say that I cannot support this Wal-Mart being put in the location of the central in the heart of Raytown. And out of the other side of my mouth, I will say that I love Walmarts. I'm a personal shopper at the one on 350, which is just about 3 minutes down 350 highway from where I live. So it's not that I am carrying any grudges or any negative thoughts as far as Walmarts are concerned. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful corporation. My problem is that we have one on 350 highway and we have one at the old Blue Ridge Mall, and those are just a few miles apart. So my bottom line question is, why do we need another Walmart? I've also talked with several people that live in the senior complex where I live at Elliott Place, just south of 350 Highway and Maple Drive. And when they found out I was coming to the meeting this afternoon, and I was going to be expressing my viewpoints, every one of them said to me, Edna, please tell them we do not want another Walmart. My friends and the church members that I belong to all are telling me the same thing. In my opinion, this is not progress for Raytown. And I commend the forethought of the Main Street Association and all of those of you that have worked very hard to update and make Raytown more beautiful in the center core, and I applaud that. But I don't think this is going to contribute in that same thing. I also worked on the Raytown Reaching for Tomorrow several years ago, devoted almost 3 years of my life to trying to upgrade and plan for the future. I was working on an image committee for Raytown Reaching for Tomorrow, and we all agreed Raytown really doesn't have that great of an image, and we need to further that and make it into a positive thing rather than negative. So I thank you very much for listening to me, and I respect greatly all of you people, and also the people that are representing Wal-Mart. Thank you.
Thank you.
My office is at 6115 Blue Ridge Boulevard, and I never got a notice. Now, there's 2 people in our building. I never got a notice about this hearing if it had been for people in Raytown. But I'm against this.
Pardon me, before we get too far, could you state your name?
Oh, my name is Edward M. Clark. I've got a tax accounting office at 6115 Blue Ridge Boulevard, almost across the street from this place. I noticed on the radio the other day, they was talking about a blighted area in Raytown wanting to put a Walmart in. I don't recall, it was on 710 radio station, and I don't recall a vacant land being blighted, and that was on the radio. I think it'd be more blighted with a 10-foot wall on the side of the wall, on the side of the library, and things like that. Also, they said they was going to do a study about traffic. If they're going to have 165 car spaces, and everybody lives in Raytown knows that Raytown and Blue Ridge and all them won't take 165 cars going in and out of Walmart, along with the funeral home, you got the school, you've got the Raytown Shopping Center, you've got all these cars going in and out that are emergency vehicles. There's not enough room, so if you're going to have a study, they just need to watch the traffic. Number 2, it said that this is not a part of the Raytown downtown development, because even on their plans, I don't see any trees or bushes or anything. All I see is walls. Also, on the pharmacy, is it going to be a 1-lane or 2-lane? Most of them I see that they build is 2 lanes, and it's bad enough, especially beyond the Blue Ridge side. Also, Raytown may get a lot of sales tax from Walmart, but you're going to have a lot of police and all the activities to keep things going, because at the one at the mall, There's all kinds of problems there all the time. And also, he was saying something about the ground being sloped, so much degrees and stuff. Maybe they better find a flat piece of ground to build on and not right across from where the church was. So anyway, I'm against it. Thank you, and thank you for inviting all of us to comment to you guys.
Is this somebody's phone?
That's mine.
Okay. Cool. Hopefully that didn't take away from my time. My name is Steve Gunther. I live at 11705 East 71st Court in Raytown, Missouri, and I'm proud to call Raytown home, at least right now I am. I'd like to know if I can also put in exhibits to the Planning and Zoning Commission, please. One of them I'll just bring them over to you, John, or do you hand them out, or just how do you want me to do it?
You hand them out to the commission.
This is Raytown Main Street's official distribution of the document that we propose to oppose the current development as it is. And then we also have a sequence of planning and development strategies that the citizens of Raytown have gone through over the past 15, 20 years that we'd also like to add as an exhibit. I know that's not an all-inclusive list because I was told there was more, and I know there's more. So, anyway, my review in this second exhibit that you're getting reflects the Raytown Main Street's first point in our letter, which states that the community of Raytown has worked long and hard to produce a vision for their community. I have an urban planning background. I'm a licensed architect here in the city of Raytown. And one of the things that I have learned as a member of Main Street and also as a planning member is that communities are identified by their downtowns. That's number one priority. I mean, all you have to do is envision communities like Brookside, Lee Summit. You can go to new communities like Park Place in Leawood. You can go to the Plaza. They're identified within that district. You can go to Zona Rosa. Anywhere in town where we shop, where we go for festivals, where we go to do our business, because we don't have that in Raytown. There's an image there that we go, that we want to be satisfied by what we see and what we experience. Those things that we experience and see are all part of what we call the human scale of a community. And we relate to human scale because of the design principles that are established in our second point. We put buildings up on front of streets so that people can relate to the streetscapes and to the awnings and to the things that are right there on the street. This project obviously does not have any building frontage directly on the street. How are we going to relate to this image? That's a big problem. The scale factor for us is a big problem. A lot of things, and you got to imagine this, if the building was on Blue Ridge Boulevard and you were walking down Blue Ridge Boulevard and you were looking in, you might use a crosswalk and go over to a neighboring property and shop, like go to Mr. Goodsense or the new town Northcraft Carpets. But if you're not going to walk those streets if all you're going to do is park in a parking lot and walk into a building. I don't see how that we're going to create a sense of community and character that we spent all this time trying to develop. It's not going to happen. And this is probably the most prime location in all of downtown for development. I am part of the Main Street. I have 15 minutes.
Okay. you didn't identify yourself as being part of that, so.
Yeah, I thought I did.
Thank you.
I thought I did. All right. So, in the matter of just putting buildings on fronts of streets, we lose the factor of human scale, and we lose the factor of walkability, pedestrian-friendly places to go. We lose that place-making ability that is so desired in our communities. The second thing that we lose by putting a building in the middle of a parking lot is we don't get to shop through visible openings through the windows of the streets, or windows of the buildings on the facing of the streets. If you go to Brookside, you go to Lee Summit, you park in front of a place that you might not be going shopping to, but when you get out of your car, you walk down the sidewalk, and you might notice something in somebody else's shop, and then that might intrigue you to go in, shop at that place, and then go to your next place, or vice versa. So making the fronts of buildings permeable on the street is what brings more people into the downtown, and not destination shoppers. I mean, this single-use, one-level entity taking up the whole block area of downtown Raytown does not create a sense of identity and a sense of place that we envision, and that's a major objection. The other thing is, the third point in item number 2 is you don't put parking lots in front of buildings. You put streets in front of buildings. And there's reasons for that too. What we're getting is a parking lot with a 42,000 square foot building on it, where we're actually going to be tearing down at least 10,000 square feet on 63rd Street, which they're not planning on rebuilding any of that back. So we're going to be losing sales tax dollars and property tax dollars right there. And just by the intent of their site plan, if the rest of the buildings, our owners fail or fall on 63rd Street, we're just going to have a parking lot that goes all the way to 63rd Street, and we're going to lose that sales tax revenue and that personal property tax, and it won't matter to them. All right? It's a simple factor. It won't matter. They want to expose their property all the way to 63rd Street. We were told by Jeff Clayton, they want the visibility all the way to 63rd Street. I mean, it doesn't relate well to what we're trying to envision. The third point, and I hope I get through all these, is, the single act. Well, I talked about the single land use entity, so I'm just going to go to another one because I don't have the time. The proposed plan obviously doesn't meet for the full potential of this site. Because it's a single use and the building is placed in the middle, another reason why you put buildings on fronts of streets is because it gives you more developable square footage for developments on those sites. Think about it. If you've got a big parking lot and you've got a building in the middle, you're not going to be able to add anything else to that site. But if you put the buildings on the perimeters, you gain square footage, which increases property values, which increases revenues, and it increases the ability for people to want to come to Raytown to visit our downtown. The single-use entity does not bring that to downtown Raytown. I talked about it being the prime site. I talked about how communities get their identity from their downtowns. The other thing I'd like to talk about is the attorney's comment on the $650,000, and that's our item number 7, because we have actually, as taxpayers, paid more than $1 million for that property. We paid $500,000 in good faith to the First Baptist Church, and we gave them, pretty much the insight that we're going to develop this property into something that's going to benefit the community. I don't believe this will, and personally, I'll take that as personal. That's not a Main Street response, so I'll get one minute in there. But anyway, we also paid over $500,000 in grant money, which comes out of our tax dollars, to tear down that building. To me, that property is worth more than $1 million just in the value that we've already spent. If the building was still been on it, it would have been their money that would have had to tear the building down, and they could have not bought that property for $500,000 to begin with. So their argument that they're paying $150,000 over value is absolutely, it's ridiculous. And to that effect also, what is this land worth to us? That's what you got to really address. And what's it worth to our kids that are growing up? I've raised 3 sons in this community, and each one of them tell me that they don't stay here because there's nothing to offer them. And we're taking away from the one possible thing that we can offer them and any other youth. You look in some of those standards that I gave you reference to, and it talks about the youth wanting a place to go. And we're not going to give anything to our youth if we approve this. This is what they're asking for is a P label on this, and what I'm saying from the Raytown Main Street perspective is that P label is not required. We leave it as it is. We don't flex. We tell them they have to be more flexible. We heard that they tried to be flexible. The plan that they proposed to us that you see right now is the same plan I saw on November 7th in my office, with a little bit more detail added this time here. That's all it is. To me, they haven't altered it. I'm an architect. I know what people do when they move buildings around and propose different locations and so forth like that. This organization knows exactly what works for them, and they're going to try to stick to that for as long as they can until they're made to be flexible. And I don't agree with them saying that they can't be more flexible. Look at Brookside. The Price Chopper on Brookside or the Brookside Market. They're on sites that have probably close to at least 10 foot, if not more, slope to them. But they still fit within the urban fabric, and they still face on the front of the street. So, the site difference and everything else in elevation, it doesn't work for me, and it doesn't work for the Main Street Association, we organized our group to try to uphold the things that we believed in as a community. The downtown standards, the design principles, and the town square overlay district is what we're wanting because that's what the community has envisioned for the last 25 years. And that's what we want. Another point that I want to just to make real quick is, you talk about streetscapes and what they're going to devote to the streetscapes. I'm sorry, but you can put all the streetscapes you want to on all four streets right now, and you're not going to get anybody to walk them. It's not going to happen. I don't care how nice you make that little 12, 15 foot wide sidewalk. They're not going to do it. The other thing, Raytown has a vision for itself. We're just asking you to follow the vision that so many people, they talk about how many hours they spent with city staff in trying to work this out. How many hours have all of us spent trying to develop these standards and create a vision for our families and our children? A lot more hours than what they spent, I guarantee you. And I'm sorry, I've been on the Board of Zoning Adjustments a long time, so I would ask everybody just, hold things down because it's important for these people to really make correct decisions. The Main Street organization wants to follow all the rules and guidelines that have been put out there. So, it's really tough for them to make good decisions if we interrupt too much or are too noisy. But I would like to just make one comment. The Board of Planning and Zoning is established to hear the perspective of the community and to relay that perspective back to the Board of Aldermen so that they can make a decision based on the feelings and perspective of its citizens. That's your main responsibility besides just doing all the planning and zoning stuff, is to reflect. And the things that you vote in as planning and zoning come from us anyway as a directive to you. This is what we want to do. And finally, I just want to make one last comment. And I'm just going to say, raise of hands, please. No clapping, no applauding, no anything. But if you would, please, if there's anybody here that is opposed to putting a P district in our downtown to allow this entity to have basically free will of whatever it wants to do, raise your hand if you're opposed. Okay, I think you see a majority of your citizens that are opposed based on the issue that Main Street has raised. So you have been given a direction I hope you would stand by that direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gunther. Mr. Benson, the items handed out by Mr. Gunther, in favor of the two items would be Exhibit M.
That's correct.
And the material sheet Exhibit M.
Correct.
And the exhibit that's being provided to us at this time, Exhibit O.
Good evening, and thank you all for your time of being here. My name is Sue Frank. My home residence is 8512 Harvard Terrace in Raytown. I'm born and raised, grew up in Raytown. I also have a business at 10,014 East 63rd Street, adjacent to the proposed site. And I'm just elated that so many people are here tonight. I think the last time I saw the council chambers this packed for planning and zoning meeting was actually when we passed our design standards that we're considering waiving tonight. And I know many people were involved in that process, and some of you were as well. And remember with the rest of us the elation and excitement that went on in the community with those considerations. I'm a little curious, as a former planning and zoning commissioner myself, that you all don't even have the opportunity to consider the full plan here, that they're saying trust us, that we'll do this work if you all approve this. And I'm sorry, I just find that curious how you approve something that we don't even know the full plan of here. But anyway, I just wanted to fill you in on my additional thoughts on this, and to give you some history and background. About 10 years ago, the city of Raytown purchased the First Baptist Church property for $500,000. The value of that property at the time was estimated at $1.2 million. By a vote of their membership, they sold it to the citizens of Raytown because they saw the downtown vision that so many people in groups worked together to develop. For this church that was established in 1842, this is basically hallowed ground for them, seeing thousands of baptisms, marriages, and funerals. This church thought that the design standards and overlay district would help ensure a wonderful town square for the citizens of Raytown, and they entrusted all of us to create a city center that would build community, make a place for small businesses and restaurants that families could walk around and enjoy. And I can't in my heart of hearts believe they would ever have sold the property to Wal-Mart. If another Wal-Mart thinks that they can be successful in Raytown, then let them move to one of the two empty grocery stores within a few blocks and let them revitalize those. The proposal before you will take with it all of the potential this heart of our downtown has to offer. I ask you to support our comprehensive plan with green space and mixed-use development, and that would eventually provide more property and retail sales tax than what this development offers. With 10 local grocery stores in our area already, I believe it will cost jobs in the long run and ultimately leave vacant buildings and more empty shopping centers. The 350 Wal-Mart site has had to close 3 times for bomb threats and sees over 400 arrests per year. I can't imagine why anybody would want to bring that potential to our downtown, and I do believe that property values will suffer. Many people work to develop the new streetscape on 63rd Street between Blue Ridge and Raytown Road that Steve mentioned, and the city is just ready to bid that out. And like our new bridges and intersections, it flows with our current design standards. The streetscape at nearly $1 million will create an attractive, pedestrian-friendly environment. And to me, it just makes no sense to build attractive, wide sidewalks that face a huge parking lot and nobody will walk on them. Instead of walking from store to store like downtown Lee Summit, Zona Rosa, and Brookside, they would have to drive to this destination and leave again. The Missouri Main Street Association says that Wal-Mart has a goal of 400 of these stores and that Raytown is one of their 17 test sites or just an experiment. I would hope that you would not let our downtown be an experiment for a company that has already abandoned 2 properties in our school district. By the time they leave again, much will be lost. The downtown is the heart and soul of a community. With the new bridges, intersections, and grants we've gotten, we're showing everyone we have potential. And I believe as the economy improves, good developers will see our potential too. We want our kids to be proud of our identity. We want them to identify with the Ray Town Square and not be forever known as Ray Mart. I quote Benjamin Franklin, the bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of low price is forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Frank.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Tom Gibbons. I'm a partner in the Four Trails partnership that owns the land at 6210 Raytown Road. My wife and I were part of the individuals and businesses that got together and helped to develop the design standards back in 2002 and 2003, and largely because of the excitement and the anticipation of what the downtown could be. When I was offered a chance to be a part of the Four Trails Real Estate Partnership, I jumped on that. I was really excited about what the downtown had the potential to become. I'm here tonight to ask you not to approve this zoning change, mainly because I feel like it's violating much of what those design standards set out, and does not comply to the town square overlay district, and it's just to me it's a misuse of valuable land. You know, you only get the chance to redo your downtown probably once in your lifetime, so you need to get it right, you know, to where it's something that people are proud of here in Raytown and want to come to. I'm afraid that, you know, if this is approved, it will likely lower the value of our land that's adjacent to this. Some of you know I have a very grand plan for what I think Raytown is going to become, especially when the commuter rail goes through, and I'm not opposed to another grocery store in the downtown area. I think that's going to probably be essential when you start getting all of the mixed use facilities along that rail corridor that are going to go up. I travel quite a bit because I'm retired now, and this spring I had a chance to visit the villages in Central Florida. It's about 80,000 people. They have 2 town squares that are currently there. They're building a 3rd one, and that all complies to the design standards and basically the town square overlay district that was set out for Raytown. So I take exception that maybe those standards are 10 years old and they're not applicable anymore, because I see a very successful community there that's using those standards. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Robert L. Rickliffs, Ricklefs. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the public comments. You're very tall. Mr. Chairman and commission members, my former alderman, my current alderman, citizens of Raytown, I moved here 30 years ago from St. Joseph, which is a small town too. I moved down here for law school. I graduated from Missouri Western. We rented a duplex in Woodson Estates. And I like the closeness of Raytown to the city, but it still had a small community feel. Had a small town feel. I like that coming from a small town. And that's why I chose to live here later on. Now, I've lived in South Kansas City, I've lived in Blue Springs, and I've lived in Raytown now. I forgot to give you my address, 6008 Laurel Avenue, next to the Sarah Coleman Live Good Park. And I thought it was very important to speak about this tonight because I was shocked when I heard that the Board of Aldermen approved the Wal-Mart variance to the zoning. I was stunned. It's a bad decision. It's short-sighted. Doesn't take into account the long-term damage to the town as a community. And I remember the old building they left down on Blue Ridge Cutoff, you know, and they'll do it again. So I understand why you want the money. The short-term money is good. I get that. As an attorney, I've actually incorporated 2 towns. I've worked as a city attorney. I've sat in on hundreds and hundreds of aldermen's meetings. So much so that I had to quit because it was just, I was sick of it. The politics is always the same. But I really think you're making a mistake in the long term by approving this. And unlike the lady here who was so nice and said that she didn't oppose Walmart's, I'm just the opposite. I won't go to this store. If you prove it, I won't go there. There's one on 350 Highway I go to. There's one in 40 Highway in Independence by my office. And the last time I was there, I was nearly attacked. Seriously, if it hadn't been for a great big man coming in between me and this other guy, he kept cocking his fist like this, like he was going to hit me. And the negative impact it's going to have on the city is it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you in the short term, police, and it's going to cost you in the long term. I'd like this to remain a community. You know, I know my neighbors. I talk to my neighbors. And I own a lot of property in this town, too. I own more that's in the Independence in the Raytown School District. So I contribute a lot of tax dollars to the Raytown School District. But I'd like to keep the sense of community we have here and not be swallowed up by Kansas City. Geographically, you've already been swallowed up by Kansas City. You know, putting this Walmart in is just like being eaten alive. Okay? The city is completely geographically surrounded by Kansas City. I think the only thing left to do is put a Walmart in. Okay? Let Kansas City continue to surround you and eventually swallow you up until there's no more Raytown. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Pete Laughlin. I have a landscape architecture studio at 6532 Blue Ridge Cutoff here in Raytown. Pardon me. And I'm here tonight to talk in favor of keeping the town square overlay district. As a designer, I really do appreciate the intimacies of the town square overlay with all of its variety of shops and shopping options and the mixed-use scenarios. We heard Steve Gunther a little bit ago talk about his 3 speaking points, putting the praise back into the idea of the town square or the townscape scenario. Well, those 3 points are still valid, just as valid today as they were when they were first established and when they were first introduced into the studies that were done here for Raytown in particular. You know, the staff report that was given out this evening went through some very serious scrutinization of the different points of the proposal for this Wal-Mart property. And by the way, I'm not against Wal-Mart. I'm just against the way that this project is coming out and going to rob the potential for that town square overlay. But the staff report scrutinizes the proposal, and it looked at 32 different scrutinies in this proposal. 21 of those scrutinies talk about the elimination of standards. And I went to the bottom line in the back pages of the proposal, and I was frankly very surprised that the staff recommended that this be adopted the way it is being proposed by Wal-Mart. So I guess what the bottom line of this project is going to be is we're going to have a parking lot in the middle of Raytown with a box store in the middle of it, plus or minus some gilding that might be required by future staff comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is William D. Hedrick, spelled Hedrick. Hedrick spelled many different ways, but that's our spelling. I'm here to represent myself and my wife. Her name is Dorothy. We bought our home on 69th Street in March of 1959. We just celebrated our 60th anniversary, November the 7th. So we've been here a while. We've seen where Raytown has come from, and we've kind of seen where it's been going. We raised 5 children, of which there is 1 left in Raytown. They don't care for it. They went to school here. They started in grammar school, went through high school here. It was a different community when they were growing up. One of them is still here, our oldest son. We raised 5 children. We have 7 grandchildren. We have 11 great-grandchildren. Of those, 2 of our great-grandchildren, 1 grandchild, and my son are the only ones left here. They've moved to other communities. We see them regularly. My youngest daughter moved back here early in 2012. Didn't like it. She left and moved back to Raymore. She says, in her eyes, it's a much more pleasant community, and she feels like it's because the availability of merchants. It's the availability of what she feels like she needs in her life. I had an occupational license in Raytown up until about 7 years ago. That would have made me about 7 years old. Since then, I'm more of an advisor to my old customers than anything. And most of them aren't here anymore. But I don't see a need for another Wal-Mart grocery store. We got one, a mile and a half from here? I would much rather see something that is community oriented. If we're going to use that property and hopefully advance the community, why don't we think about a youth recreational thing, something to get our kids off the street? We see them going up and down 69th Street in groups. And some of them, it puts me in question of how they were raised because of their attire, their demeanor on the way going down the street. Our road ditch, I used to maybe a couple of times a year would have to pick up something out of the road ditch. I pick it up now every time I mow. Says something about the community. My biggest concern is small business. That's my biggest concern. Because I was a small businessman. And there was times when I came to the zoning board and they turned me down flat, and I had an occupational license for construction. I had a friend who wanted to open a recording studio in the industrial district right here close to the courthouse. He asked me to build him what they called a clean room, because any dust destroys the tapes that they were making. And he said, go over and get you a permit. You got a license, haven't you? Yeah. Go over and get your permit, and here's what I want. And I came over and they turned me down flat. These are some of the things that have went on in the past that I wished I was on the committee with you people, or in your place. Okay. He was angry when I came back and I told him I can't get a permit, they won't give me one. He said, oh, I'll go get it. And he came over, and about 5 minutes he was back with the permit. And I said, how'd you go about that? And he said, well, they told him to take me to the back room and draw me a permit. I don't want to see Raytown go back to that kind of thing for small business. If you're legal, you've got the ability, you've got the knowledge, and you've got the license to do whatever it is you're doing, then I think that's the thing we should support as small business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for this opportunity. I'll make it fast. Diane Creasy, 10801 East 83rd Street, Graytown. Also a business, 11780 East 83rd Street. I've lived here since 1982, so I didn't grow up in the school system, but I've come to love this place and got to know a lot of neat people. And I can see the potential. I commend the city for making the progress they've made, and I'd like to see it continue. I know people who live in Joplin, and their town is restructuring their town square after all the tornado damage. And I am concerned, I agree with Tom Gibbons, that we have got to make sure we do it right the first time. We don't need to be tearing down and redoing. And I am fully supportive of the current central business design plan, guidelines, and all the effort that went into that vision, and I love that vision. But I'm concerned that if the Wal-Mart goes in, and they can go somewhere else, but not in this downtown, I'm concerned that development around there will not happen. And let me tell you why. Last night, April 24th, my husband and I attended the performance of the Kansas City Lyric Opera, The Mikado. It's a comic opera by Gilbert and Sullivan, first performed in 1885. It's common for an opera company to take liberties with the script to make the political satire relevant to current events. So in Act 2, we watch a scene with the Japanese Emperor, the Mikado, asking Koko the tailor the whereabouts of his son. Nanki Poo had run away from home because of a planned forced marriage that he was not agreeable to. Koko replied that Nanki Poo had run away with his love, Yum Yum, to get married. And the Mikado asked, to where? And Koko replied, abroad. And Mikado demanded, where? And Koko blurted out, Raytown. In the hospitality room for large donors, we encountered folks who were well aware of the proposed Wal-Mart development in Raytown and the issues. They were incredulous that it should even be seriously considered. They told us their own Mission, Kansas downtown had been transformed into a town square and it was working well. Well, it's alarming to me that Raytown is on the radar of this arts community. That includes real estate developers, bankers, investors, philanthropists, and business owners. With the bad press of the proposed Wal-Mart plan, how will we ever attract serious investors and business that can enhance our downtown with quality establishments? Just like homeowners, developers want their investment to increase in value over time, and having a solid central business district plan in place ensures that all properties within the district meet the same standards. Is this not the reason that we have home associations? To protect the property values of the neighborhood? Would you want a one-bedroom cabin built next door to your two-story, four-bedroom, two-car garage home? And some businesses in Raytown and the downtown area are hopeful that this Walmart's going to bring them more traffic and business. But because Walmart's associated with high crime, 400 police arrests at the 350 highway location, that's over one a day, that's during the year, it stands to reason that the property insurance premiums are surely going to increase in that area due to the higher risk assessment, and surrounding property values will consequently drop in value. As they say, there goes the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Shelley Schumann, and I'm a lifetime resident of this area. I haven't always lived in Raytown, but we moved back into Raytown because it has a close place in my heart and the heart of my family. Lee Templeton was my uncle. Yes, sir.
Before you get too into it, can you please state your address?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 6209 Claremont Avenue, Raytown, Missouri. My uncle was Lee Templeton. He worked downtown. He had an office downtown for many years. And my family has lived in this area, and unfortunately most of them have moved away, but there's something that's kept me here. And I've never actually gone in front of any of the groups that have met here at City Hall before. I've never written a letter to the editor of the newspaper before. But something has burned inside of me to do that with this. And the primary thing that I want to say is that I don't want to be silent, because silence implies that I agree with what's going on. And I don't agree. I don't agree with what I believe has been just kind of, I don't want to say blatant disregard, because that would be unfair, but maybe bypassing a lot of the comments from citizens, because what we have to say is important. We really want you to hear it. And I thank you so much for what you do, because it's a hard job. I know it's a hard job, and I appreciate it. But I'm coming before you today to say this thing is costing our city a lot of political capital. It's already cost us one member of this board. I don't want it to cost anybody else. I don't want anybody else to be put in a hard position. I just want us to think about what we're doing and the long-term implications of bypassing the standards that are in place. To make broad stroke concessions to one corporation does not make sense to me. Because if I were a mom and pop business, and if I wanted to have concessions made, I either couldn't afford it, or I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't have the muscle to be able to do it. And I'm asking you to consider that, just because I want us to have a downtown that we can be proud of. I'm raising 2 daughters here. I have another son that lives on his own, and I have another son that lives with me. And I want them to stay in this area. I want my family to be here and to invest their futures in this city. And I just don't know that that's going to happen if we, I loved what the gentleman said. He said, we're just going to let Kansas City move in and take over. That's really what it'll look like. This is Raytown. This is a special place. And I really want us to keep it special. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Elisa Breitenbach. My home, where I sleep, is at 1110 West Walnut Street in Independence. Where I live and work and play is in my donut shop called Doughboys here in Raytown. During the day, I'm a donut lady, but because of this issue, I have had to become a community activist. It's not the first time I've done this, and I truly believe there's a great need for this. We are working a petition against putting this very controversial corporation in the heart of our city. I would like to say I spent my whole childhood here. All of my schooling was right here. My PE teacher is sitting right here in the audience right beside me, Miss Tommy. It is a blessing to be back here in my hometown. I grew up in Gregory Heights with tons of cousins, and believe me, we are all over Raytown, and we all vote. I can't vote here, but I have one-on-one meetings with every customer that will allow me to speak to them when there is a need like this. I am sorry to hear that this community's perspective will not affect anyone on this board. In a book that I saw, Communities Planning Commission represents the public perspective in the planning process. Planning and Community Development, a guide for the 21st century. It is horrifying to listen to you say that the perspective of the community is not going to influence your vote, when that's really what should be influencing your vote, on top of not breaking rules and regulations. Why would we want, or why should we, make an exception in our design standards for this very controversial company? And honestly, I never really had much of a problem with Wal-Mart until this. And honestly, you have my word of honor, I will never set foot in another Wal-Mart as long as I live. Because honestly, they really hurt little businesses. And I'm a little business. I'm one of the little guys. And I wouldn't expect you to break any rules and regulations for me. I came into the city, I fortunately put in my dough shop, and I have been nothing but blessed. These guys have all the money in the world. I pray to God that you don't bend your rules and regulations for them, because it is the wrong thing to do. It is the wrong message to send our community, and it is the wrong message to send our children and our grandchildren. You don't break rules and regulations just because somebody has a lot of green stuff or a lot of power. They hurt communities, I'm sorry. They suck the life out of us. And we simply can't afford this. I cannot believe the trouble that I went through just trying to get the names of you guys. And I just want the public to know, if anybody wants a copy of everybody's name and how to get a hold of them, we have it here tonight. We also have a petition here tonight to anybody that would like to sign it. I truly believe that this is the wrong thing for Raytown. It sends a bad message that if you have a lot of money, come here because they'll bend over for you. That's a bad message. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Cushing. I live at 5409 Hedges, Raytown, Missouri. And I say Raytown, Missouri because I'm proud of Raytown. My folks built a house here in 1965. I remember when the Raytown Plaza was thriving and a place to go. No matter what you needed, it was there. We don't need a Wal-Mart to replace the small businesses we have now. Raytown is turning around. Such as old Mayor Sue Frank said, we had a plan back in 2002. We've been living up to it. We've been doing a good job of it. We're doing all the wastewater, water, and everything else on 63rd Street. All the fire hydrants have been replaced. We're making real progress. We don't need to make a turnaround now to put a business in where the First Baptist Church used to be. We lost a very important entity to this city. April 12th was the YMCA. We have grocery stores that are sitting vacant right now. 63rd Street and on Blue Ridge by McDonald's. Let Walmart go there. There's 165 parking places there, I'm sure. And I know we could probably count them if y'all liked. How about taking that land up at the First Baptist Church and turning it into a community center? Putting it on the ballot. Let the citizens of Raytown decide. An eighth of a cent, 16th, quarter cent, whatever. And use that land for something good instead of big business. Big business is great. Yes, we need big business for jobs and things. But we don't need it to tear down our little town. Like I said, my folks built their house in 1965. I graduated from Raytown in 1980. I've seen this town. I know what this town is. And I still live here. And I have 2 boys that still live here also. I like this town. And I work in this town also on 56th Street. So I don't go far. I live in Raytown. I work in Raytown. This is my town. And a lot of us feel this way. Nothing against Wal-Mart. They're a business. I believe in free enterprise. But this is not the place for Walmart. I heard somebody touch on it a minute ago about the Bowen Plaza. The man came in and bought the building. He's fixing it all up. Getting new residents. There's a library right across the street, the Mid-Continent Library, that I went when I was a kid. Still go there with my boys. How's that going to affect the library? There's going to be a lot of traffic coming in and out for kids going to the library. Yes, the Raytown Plaza is coming back. Man has spent a lot of money on it. He spent a lot of money on the Blue Ridge Plaza also. I think the man needs a chance to do what he can to bring the business in. If you bring a Walmart in, it cuts everything off. Everything's null and void. Walmart supplies and does a lot of things for a lot of different businesses and companies. The businesses and companies we have in our city will falter and fail. It will be very hard for them. I thank you all for what you do. You all have heavy decisions to make. I don't fault the mayor or the city council for trying to bring in revenue to the city. They're trying to do their best. But at the same token, we need to keep Raytown, a small community. As Mr. Azure said, a bedroom community. Just remember, they closed down the YMCA, a big corporate entity. They closed down the one on 67th Street, the Walmart on 67th. I don't know if y'all ever go to the one on 40 Highway in Independence. That was a beautiful place at one time. Now it might be car haven in the world. Every thief in the surrounding area comes. We don't want that. We don't need it. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm short. My name is Rebecca Dickerson, and I reside at 6904 Crisp Avenue. I kind of wanted just to paint a picture of, just imagine being a child and being, like at a downtown parade, and you see a marching band and confetti and candy being thrown at you from local businesses, and, just all the things that represent a hometown. I grew up in Raytown my whole life. My grandparents lived in Gregory Heights. My mom grew up with Elisa from the donut shop, and that's what I remember as a child, is going to the downtown for Raytown Roundup days and the horses and just all the smells of all the good food that you would go and you would be there and you'd be part of something, and I've contributed to the population of Raytown. I have 6 children, and we are here in Raytown because I wanted my children to experience the same thing. But Raytown Roundup days have changed, and we moved it here and we moved it there, and it's just not the same as it used to be, and it's like I want my children to know that Raytown is a place that I love and that I'm passionate about too. I've been a youth pastor for 10 years here in Raytown at the River Church. My youth don't even want to be in Raytown. Oh, let's go somewhere else. Raytown's a dump. There's nothing to do here. There's nothing that is keeping them and holding them here. My 13-year-old daughter, I love Walmart. My mom works at Walmart. I grew up as a Walmart kid, but it's embarrassing when I go to Walmart one night and there's blood on the sidewalk outside of Walmart. My daughter's like, what is? And like, we don't go there at night. We don't feel safe. Every time we're up there, my kids are like, why is that person being arrested? You know, there's always somebody being arrested or shoplifting, and I don't feel safe going by myself with my 6 children. So I have to leave and go to Lee Summit. I want to keep my business in Raytown. I love Raytown. I'm passionate about it. And I would love to see the downtown to be like it is. My daughter's already formed an opinion. As soon as I can move out of Raytown, I'm moving. I want her to love to be here. I want her to know this is community, that we are people changers, we're city changers, that in the big city of Kansas City, you can go to the small town, hometown, Raytown, and be welcomed by the donut shop, by local businesses, that you can just fall in love with this city all over again. But, you know, if we bring just another Walmart in, to me, a city market, to me, what's the point? You know, I would rather see something else there, something that my children can benefit, more storefronts, a community center, something that is going to bring the heart of Raytown here, and if people say, wow, you know, that city has something going for it. I'm probably one of the youngest people here tonight. You know, I want my friends to move into Raytown. I want to stay in Raytown. And I just feel like by bringing big corporations in, it's not helping us. It's really going to hurt our community. And it really makes me want to think, do I want to stay living here? Or would I rather move to another town that has more to offer and more business to support? So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Chris Merrill. I live at 10815 East 58th Street here in Raytown. I am a thug. That is a thoughtful, helpful union guy. Thank you. I am not up here for myself tonight. And myself, if I don't want to shop at Walmart, I ain't going to shop at Walmart. I'm up here for the Americans. Okay? 80% of Walmart employees are on food stamps. Yeah. My stepmother was forced to take a job at Walmart a couple years ago when the economy crashed. She was a manager. She was forced to work 80 to 100 hours a week. Made less than $30,000 a year. All of her employees were part-time, no benefit, minimum wage. It's a mess. We can't let the richest corporation in the world come up here and steal all of our tax money, come up here and steal all of our jobs. They say they're doing us a favor, giving us 60 to 80 jobs. Well, these are all minimum wage, no benefits, no insurance, but they are nice enough to teach them how to get government assistance. I don't think that's right. We need companies like the Apple Market, like Price Chopper, that are willing to pay a decent wage that you could support a child on. Give them benefits. I think the average salary of Costco is $40,000 a year. The average salary at Wal-Mart between $17,000 and $20,000. It's not a good thing here. We really don't want Walmart to be known, or Raytown to be known as Walltown, you know, or Raymart, whatever they want to call it. We don't want to be the slum of the cities here. We don't want all the slum to live here and work here. I wasn't going to speak tonight. I don't have anything prepared here. I'm pulling this all off the top of my head. But somebody needs to stand up for the Americans. Somebody needs to help them get real jobs. Several small businesses in there you can pay $10, $12 an hour, give insurance. That's all we need. We don't need big fancy box stores. We don't need anything like that. We just need a simple little town. Look at Old Town Shawnee, Mission, whatever, Lee Summit. Look at those towns. Those are very nice, respectable towns. That's what we need here in Raytown. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Roy Fadler, 6217 Hunter, here in Raytown, for 49 years. Don't have much to comment here, but I'm just thinking about the bad traffic, the trash, and what is expected after Wal-Mart gets through with this. What happens to it then? That's the only comments that I've got. Other than, I hope you gentlemen and ladies use your good common sense in this procedure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeanette Gentry. I reside at 11,000 East 59th Street, Raytown, Missouri. And I say Raytown, Missouri, as the other gentleman did, very proud, because I will, when people solicit me on the phone and they verify my address, the minute they say Kansas City, I said, no thank you, I'm not interested. So I'm quite proud of being in Raytown, in this small town. Wow. I learned a lot tonight, didn't you? Most people here did, I think. We've got a lot of passion here. We've had a lot of passion here for quite a while. I counted 97 bodies sitting in that office, in that auditorium tonight. 97 people. I've had about 20 or so come up and speak to you. I've not heard one that was in favor of this particular plan for our downtown. In 2006, 2007, I worked with Mayor Frank, the Board of Aldermen, and 300 citizens within the city of Raytown to develop a strategic plan for our growth. A lot of you people were involved in that. A lot of the Board of Aldermen were involved in that. And while I'm at it, I want to say thank you to the aldermen who are here tonight to listen to our concerns. That plan, it took a lot of time. As your very first speaker said, she spent 3 years of her life on it. Chairman, I know that your missus also spent a long time on that plan. Quite proud of that plan. It's not just a resume one-liner. It's something that I live. It's something that I believe. Just a few of the notes that I've made from what people have said here tonight. We do have an established downtown. We cared enough to know that we wanted something more, and we put it down in writing. That was the citizens and the elected officials that worked together, worked together to develop something that was realistic, that could be done. Okay, the documents here say that it's been vacant since 2009 and 10 years that it hasn't had any activity. Well, thankfully our city staff was courageous enough to find us grants to demolish a building that was asbestos ridden. I doubt that the developer for this plan would have wanted to have taken that property if that building had still been there. As Mr. Gunther said, that is our tax dollars that paid for that. So that's been down. And then we had the economy do what the economy did. So I question, and this will be a question that I'm going to be presenting to our aldermen and our city staff. What has been done to market this property? I hope and pray that our city staff did not go and say, hey, come bring a 40,000 square foot building to the middle of our downtown. I have a feeling that they came to him and said, hey, let me bring a 40,000 square foot building to the middle of your downtown. We haven't had an opportunity to market this property for the mixed use development that has been planned for it all along. A lot of the different things that I had written down here, most of the people have said already, so I won't reiterate that. I do want to know, will Mr. Gunther's pass-outs be included onto the planning and zoning amendments on the website? Because they're part of the process now, right?
Are you talking the packet that was?
Right,
We typically don't post stuff after the meeting, but it doesn't mean you can't.
Okay. I request that you do.
These items will be forwarded to the Board of Aldermen. They'll be made a part of that packet that will be posted on the city's website.
Okay. I personally request that you include the additional, because there are also amendments to I'm sorry, I don't know the correct word. Part of the process as to what's there. So I do hope that you do that. Here, my notes are all over the place. Okay. A couple of the points that I'd like to just reiterate here is if you have a 40,000 square foot building, are there clauses that I doubt that you have actually reviewed the final plan yet, and I pray that you don't pass this, but things that you need to consider is it designed for reuse? Is it designed for when they decide that they don't want to be here anymore? Is it reusable for something? Can it be made something smaller? Then the other thing is, if not, okay, is there a demolition cost that says, okay, they'll pay to tear it down? We've already paid enough. So I know I'm out of my time. I appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody who made it here tonight. Thank you for speaking and caring for Raytown community.
Thank you, Ms. Ginger.
My name is Beth Kurzava. I reside at 10104 East 56th Terrace, and I am a small business owner in the Raytown Plaza. 97 people? Is that what you said were here? Yes, have we had this many people in this room since we got the halfway house stopped in my backyard on 56th Street? No? So this is the second biggest group. Because we had more people here that night. First of all, I'm not going to bash Walmart. I shop at Walmart. I love Walmart. Thank you. And I would bet that 90% of the people in this room shop at Walmart. I would bet on it. I bet I see every one of you there from time to time. So don't bash Walmart. That's not right. All this stuff about shoplifting problems most likely has to do with electronics, I would bet, clothing. If you got police reports, I bet it doesn't have a darn thing to do with groceries. We need a grocery store in that area. The Bowen Towers, those people over there need someplace they can walk to. There's a couple of little retirement areas over there. There's one behind Raytown Plaza, too. They need a grocery store that they could walk to. Not everybody owns a car. A lot of them need a grocery store. I don't think, however, that we should bend to any of what Walmart wants. We've got a plan in place. Walmart should conform to our standards, not the other way around. The old Walmart, I'm going to make a little notes. The old Walmart on Blue Ridge is now a Sutherland's. We shop there too. I used most all of the supplies that we bought to renovate our building in the Raytown Plaza. We bought at Sutherland's. So all of that tax money went right back into the community. Businesses in the Raytown Plaza, and that was mentioned, how the Raytown Plaza is coming back. You know why it's coming back? Because they thought it was going to be developed across the street. Now you've got a lot of people saying, oh no, we don't want Walmart across the street. Well, the Raytown Plaza business owners were looking forward to that. They were looking forward to that traffic. They were kind of counting on that. So, as far as this information that we got, the site plan is 1F on here. I don't see a 1G anywhere. I would like to have seen that. The information that the church was bought, that land was bought 10 years ago, and Steve's comment that he'd been working on this project for 25 years. 25 years is 20 years too long. That's one of the reasons that Raytown has a poor reputation, because we Don't look forward. We are stuck in Mayberry RFD mode. We've got to get up and we've got to get moving. That's why we like going to Lee Summit. We like going to Lee Summit. They don't have smoking in the restaurants. Raytown needs to catch up. Yes. No smoking laws. Number one. Number two, they've got the infrastructure already there. They're utilizing those old downtown buildings. It's quaint. It's kitsch, and it's the same thing in Brookside. So you like going there. It's got that hometown feel. Have you got anybody lined up? If you decide not to go with Wal-Mart, have you got anybody lined up to dump how much money? Got to be millions of dollars to do this really cute downtown square that you want to do. Is there somebody that's willing to dump that kind of money into that? I would seriously doubt that in today's economy, that you've got anybody lined up to do that. The one thing that we don't want to see continue is that empty big lot. And we've had people come to the shop and ask us to sign a petition to make that a park. Really, we don't need another park. We've got a downtown park. I never see anybody in it. Nobody's ever sitting in that park at 63rd and Old Raytown Road across from UMB Bank. Nobody's ever there. It's never utilized. The only time this green space is utilized is for an Easter egg hunt and the barbecue and Raytown Roundup days. And I don't know how much tax money you get off of that. Probably not a lot for the Easter egg hunt, I'm guessing. That's about all I think. I think if we don't do something with it soon, downtown Raytown is going to die. You might as well just start digging the grave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Greg Walters. I live at 8958 East 60th Street. I live between here and Blue Ridge Cutoff, so the traffic that would come through, coming from the west side of Blue Ridge, would cross in through, not through my neighborhood, but on major roadways that would affect myself, Mrs. Stock, Mr. Sandler, who spoke earlier, and take what is basically a quiet neighborhood during the evening and turn it into something that sounds like it's surrounded by freeways. I will go on to that later on, but I'd like to go on record at this point saying I'm opposed to building a 40,000 square foot building with 60 to 70,000 square feet of parking space. I don't think it's a step in the right direction for us in the middle of downtown Raytown. I want you to consider, as other speakers this evening, what would happen if Wal-Mart should pull out if they decide the test is a failure, as Mrs. Frank pointed out earlier. You have in Raytown examples of corporate decisions to pull out. The YMCA was not made by Raytowners to close that store down. That was made in Kansas City, Missouri, by their head office there. Save-A-Lot was a national decision to pull it down, even though the store was less than a year old, I believe, when they decided to close it down. That vacant store still sits vacant today. If you think you have trouble filling a green space that is ready for build, wait till you have a 40,000 square foot building in the middle of a town that doesn't have anything else in there to support it, and see if you can find something to go there, because you're not going to have much luck with that either. Another concern that is a very big concern to me is the possibility of 24-hour operation at this location. Wal-Mart is making this same pitch in the not the Brookside area, but the Waldo area for a similar type of operation, and theirs was a 24-hour operation. It is a concession that they have given to the local people over there that if they do build it, and it's still an if, that they will go to less than a 24-hour operation, go to regular business hours. At least this is what I read in the Kansas City Star. I would like to point out to your position on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Besides just deciding yes or no on the question, you can also make recommendations to the City Council. And one of those recommendations, in my opinion, should be that there not be allowed a 24-hour operation if it is approved. I feel that is very important. I feel it would degrade the neighborhoods if you do have it, a 24-hour operation. You can look to a situation that happened at Blue Ridge and 63rd Street, where a Quick Trip is now open. When it was first opened, it was a 24-hour operation. It now shuts down at 11 o'clock at night. This was done because a lot of people decided this would be a good place to hang out after the bars closed that serve the area around here. So when they're done down partying at Happy Town, let's go on up the Quick Trip and just hang out in the parking lot. It's only a half a mile to come into Raytown, to be downtown Raytown, to stay in the nice new Wal-Mart parking lot. And if you get thirsty, you can buy your booze right there, probably at a discount price. So I think this is something, that you should consider. I think you should make it part of your decision, one way or another, to say to the Board of Aldermen, we do not want a 24-hour operation. That's really about all I have to offer you tonight. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening to us, and I hope you have listened well. With the exception of one speaker, everybody has been opposed to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Okay, at this time, to echo our speakers, many of you, thank you for coming this evening. As I said at the top of this meeting, this is part of the public process, and it's important that people come out and participate. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for doing it in an orderly manner. There's been a lot of comments from the public this evening, and next in our agenda is an opportunity for additional comments from our applicant. I'd like to approach at this time.
Good evening again. Just to reiterate, my name is Rick Wilson, I'm a site civil engineer, and I'm not going to respond to all the comments. I didn't take all of them down. I did note down a few things that I do want to point out of a couple comments that were made. One being, why do we need another Wal-Mart? I would like to point out that what is being proposed is not a Wal-Mart supercenter. It's not a 200,000 square foot store. It's not a 180,000 square foot store. It's not a 150,000 square foot store. It's a 40,000 square foot store, much smaller scale. We've gotten great customer feedback from this store. They do like the smaller atmosphere. It's more convenient, and it provides a much more desirable shopping experience. And that's the comments that we've gotten back from, and Walmart's gotten back from customers. There was a comment also of one lane or two on the pharmacy drive-through. Again, it's a much smaller store. It's not a super center. One lane on the pharmacy drive-through. There was a comment. How do you approve a plan that isn't a full plan? And again, I'd like to reiterate, we realize it is not a full plan. We'd like the comments. We appreciate all the comments this evening. And we appreciate working with staff and their comments as well. And if approved, we will fully prepare and be back before the site plan approval process, as it's my understanding, we will have to go through, and then we would get into the landscaping that was brought up, the site lighting and things of that nature. And those are the things that I wanted to point out based on some of the comments I had heard. And again, if there's any specific questions, I or any one of our team could do our best to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll have you back up here in a couple of minutes. Mr. Benson, at this time, is there additional comments from the staff?
Yes, I do have some comment about a few minutes. It may take a little longer than 10 minutes, if you bear with me, guys. As was mentioned during the public comments, I'd like to walk through this project or the proposed design standards, specifically as they relate to the CBD design standards that have been adopted by the city. Those standards are divided into, as far as commercial development, are divided into three parts: commercial site design, commercial building design, and then signage regulations or design. Under each of those categories, there's different elements or design elements, and that's what I like to kind of walk through, because I think that starts to get down to moving from a general discussion into more specifics as it relates to those design standards. The location of the parking facilities is the first or one of the design elements in the site design. That is, they are proposing to eliminate the standard. The intent of that of this standard is to have parking areas to be located behind or to the side of the building unless otherwise approved by the Board of Aldermen. Because this property fronts on 4 different streets, or this project rather fronts on 4 different streets, compliance with this standard is going to be very difficult in the development of the property, regardless of the location of the building. When we originally met with with the applicant early on, we discussed that aspect. In that discussion, we told them to treat Blue Ridge Boulevard as the primary street, and for the parking not to be located ideally between the building and that street, recognizing somewhere along that property parking is going to have to be between the building and the street. Having said all that, the compliance with that standard, as I mentioned, is difficult, so most likely that standard, a waiver or some variation, to some degree, that standard would be required. The next standard, design element, is consolidated parking facilities. That's intended to encourage parking areas to be shared among multiple businesses in an area. This is actually an option for the developer rather than a requirement in the design elements. Therefore, it's not included in this design feature. The proposed design standards does not pose a problem in regards to the CBD design standards. In regards to the CBD plan, it works again, or it's not in keeping with the CBD plan. Location of driveways is another design element. That standard or element requires driveways to not be located along Blue Ridge Boulevard, and instead the design standard calls for driveways to be located on 62nd Street and Raytown Road. As the conceptual site plan 1G that they've submitted, that's before you as part of this application, they have 3 access points off of Blue Ridge Boulevard, one of which is an existing driveway location. There's also 2 access points off of Raytown Road. This requirement, again, due to the size of the property and the orientation or size of the building, that this requirement is somewhat difficult for them to meet. Also, given the topography plays into this issue, meeting with the applicant, particularly their engineer, looking at the topography and the turn movements for service and delivery trucks to come off 62nd and or Raytown Road only. It's difficult to see the topography of that site. And then the other question is, where's that? They all look at elaborate on that. Parking lot landscaping is another design element. This relates to the location of landscaping in the parking lot. Should be screened from streets. This also helps to make the CBD area more walkable, pedestrian friendly in that regard. Pedestrian connections is another element. The standard provides sidewalks between the sidewalk connections from the building to the sidewalk along the street, so the front entrances of the building, as well as through the parking areas and through the building entrance. The conceptual site plan 1G actually incorporates these elements into their plan. Lots, crosswalks, and intersections is another standard or element.
Stop you for 1 quick second. And I might stop you too.
That's fine.
Just understand.
That's fine.
When you talk about the pedestrian connections, the site plan has those connections in there. Does that meet the standard or does it fall short of the standard?
I believe it. as far as establishing those connections, I would say it meets those standards because they provide sidewalks from the sidewalk along Blue Ridge or the sidewalk along Greytown Road through the property to the front entrance of the building. They're also proposing a sidewalk that will extend south from the building through the parking lot and make its way over to 63rd Street.
And I have a question for the applicant then. According to the staff report, there was a question that you wanted to meet that requirement. If I'm correct, you want to eliminate that requirement. Is that correct, or is it just?
No, sir. In fact, we disagree with the use of the language "eliminate the standard." Our effort has not been to eliminate the standard. Our effort has been to comply with the standard as much as we can as a company. And I think what Mr. Benson's indicated is that with respect to that standard, we have complied, that those connections are available and they are in conformance with your Central Business District design guidelines.
Sorry, Mr. That's okay. Just to clarify my wording there. The reason I say the proposal to eliminate is not included in the design standards that they propose. Blocks, crosswalks, and intersections. This regulation stipulates design features for crosswalks and curb bump outs and intersections. The purpose of the curb bump outs, for instance, makes it easier for pedestrians to cross the street, shortens that walking distance. It also helps to define the parking areas, on-street parking areas. It helps to calm traffic, the speed of traffic through an area. This standard, in their letter from Mark Bryant to myself and Tom Cole on February 7th, it states that they would implement or incorporate the streetscape design features. Those aspects are addressed in that into the streetscape master plan for downtown, so in effect they've agreed to meet that standard. The regulation related to the specific standard under this element related to block size is not applicable as they're not changing the block size of the property, so it is what it is. The next element is through block passages, which requires where there's a block that's longer than 500 feet, requires a through block walkway or through the middle of the block is provided to make it more walkable in the downtown area. The site plan does not provide for a walkway from 63rd Street all the way to 62nd Street, which is the distance that's greater than 500 feet. They have, however, provided that sidewalk, as I mentioned a little bit ago, from 63rd Street to the front entrance of the store. It does not continue all the way to 62nd Street. The challenge that I don't think is possible under the current design for it to extend all the way to 62nd Street because there's a approximately 10-foot retaining wall behind the building up from the service drive up to the height or to the level of 62nd Street. That sidewalk would have to traverse a 10-foot retaining wall, which would not be easy. I don't know how much that really in reality would be used anyway. Site landscaping areas is the next element, which provides for landscaping requirements for the development as a whole. The design standards do state that, in their design standards that have been submitted, do state that a landscape plan will be submitted, but it does not provide the standards for that landscaping, which the CBD design standards specify in this regard. Street trees is the next element, which specifies the location and number of trees to be planted along the street frontage. Again, they're not addressing this as part of their landscaping yet. The other element or aspect of that will make that an existing condition difficult to meet that is there's overhead power lines on 62nd, Greytown Road, and Blue Ridge Boulevard, which will restrict the height of trees in that area. That's not to say ornamental trees or other shorter, lower height trees could be in their place.
Mr. Wilson, I have a question about that. Regarding the street trees, were there not or are there not two trees that are proposed by the city to try to maintain if this is to somehow go?
They are showing a tree, yes, along the northwest or near the northwest corner of 62nd and Greytown Road. Their site plan 1 does show that a tree being retained that location, I believe, at the northeast corner of 62nd and the northeast corner of the property, 62nd Blue Ridge Boulevard, retaining one or two trees, and I don't have enough right here in front of me, so at that corner. So yes, they are proposing to retain those. Those would be considered street trees.
Would you, may I ask that, would you consider, are those going to be kept?
I apologize about that. My question for the applicant regarding those street trees is are important to us here in Raytown. Are those street trees ready for retail? The trees that are existing right now?
I apologize, when I was up here before, there was a comment of, we've not seen 1G, so I do apologize. And I can tell you the differences quickly between 1G and 1F are primary differences. And that is, one of the staff comments is, we did have the sidewalk going straight up, and then you would walk across. They wanted it to be more in the middle of the lot to the front building, so we made that change. The parking on this area of the site, I believe, was modified slightly. And this plan does not show taking ownership of the corner lot. Those are the primary differences. I wanted to point those out quickly. The question, I believe if I understand the question correctly, is would we be maintaining the tree in the northwest corner of the property? Is that correct? And that is the intent of this current site plan. We did have previous site plans, and that was a staff comment that we would like to save for sure one, if not both trees. Earlier site plans did not allow or accommodate for saving those trees. Also, one of the staff comments was for entrances, to come off of 62nd Street, and the way that laid out, none of the trees, unfortunately, would have been able to be saved. That was just one aspect of that site plan layout that didn't work on the site. So, but to answer your question, yes, it is our intent to make every effort to save that tree.
Thank you.
The next design element relates to site lighting. This standard provides for pedestrian scale lighting along sidewalks abutting city streets. Again, the streetscape master plan, which was recently been completed by the city, will address this standard along the street frontage abutting the property. And again, the letter from the applicants to city staff on February 7th indicated that they will incorporate the streetscape design. So, in a sense, they agreed to the standard in that regard. Sidewalk paving is another element which provides for sidewalk paving material and minimum sidewalk widths. It would apply to the design along Blue Ridge Boulevard, Anytime Road, 62nd Street, or the sidewalks along those streets. And again, the streetscape master plan will address that sidewalk material which they've agreed to comply with as part of the design. Bicycle lanes is another element. It calls for the construction or implementation of bike lanes along streets where possible. And again, the streetscape master plan has taken that into account. In this case, the street calls for bike lanes along Blue Ridge Boulevard as part of the streetscape master plan. And again, as part of this project, that would come into play as part through their agreement to implement the streetscape master plan. Site furnishings is the next element. This includes standards on-site furnishings such as benches and other vending machines, things like that. It also calls for the screening of newspaper and other vending machines. There's proposed site design standards that they have submitted include same standards for site furnishings. The difference on theirs and what's in the CBD design standards, two aspects is the CBD design standards gets into some quality of the site furnishings, where their standards do not touch on that. Also, the CBD design standards call provide for screening of newspaper and other vending machines, which their standards don't stipulate or address.
Mr. Benson, do you find a problem with that from a staff perspective, or will the final plan kind of give you?
In regards to the quality of material, site furnishings, I generally don't, because the site furnishings I've seen at other Walmart stores are a durable quality that would meet our CBD design standards, and that's going on faith. Obviously, it's not included in the standards. The screening for newspaper vending machines, that is a concern to some degree, and it depends on where those vending machines or newspaper machines would be located. If they're not, if they're on the front high travel area, yeah, that's an issue. If they're, depending on the facade, if it's built into a break in the facade, kind of surrounded by the facade itself, and the building facade takes care of that by itself, and we meet that standard. So until we get to that point, it's hard to address that, or it could be addressed through other means. Courtyards, plazas, and open space is another design element. This is an optional element. It is not required by the design standards. This element, rather, if a courtyard, plaza, or open space is permitted, it sets forth the standards that a courtyard or plaza area needs to comply with. The town square gateway is another standard. This one is not applicable because that only applies to buildings that are at major intersections, such as constructed right on the intersections, such as 63rd Street, Raytown Road, or 63rd Street and Blue Ridge Boulevard. Excuse me. The commercial building design standards is the next set of design elements. The prominent entrance is the first element. This design feature calls for the exterior, or addresses the exterior of the building, as well as the requirement for building an entrance to be provided a minimum of every 100 feet along the side of the building facing the street. The requirement for entrance is every 100 feet on the side of the building. Is related to avoiding long expanses that make the street less pedestrian friendly. I think you heard some comments related to that in the public discussion tonight. This standard specific to this project would relate to the east side of the building as proposed on the conceptual site development plan. The applicant's representatives have stated that meeting with them have told staff or stated to staff that the front entrance of the building needs to be facing the parking lot area for ease of access for customers driving to and from the site, and for the ease of carrying groceries from the store to customer vehicles. Staff have also discussed with the applicant or the applicant's representatives the possibility of providing an outdoor seating area between the east side of the building and the sidewalk along Blue Ridge Boulevard for various requirements in the store, such as coffee, bakery, florists, things like that, that would give an outdoor area up front, in a sense, to that side. The problem with that approach is what we've been told is Walmart, as a corporation, will not change their floor plan on every market. They have one floor plan basically. They can flip it, reverse it, or mirror, but they can't alter things or really move it around. It disrupts the function of the store itself. I have spoken with community development directors of Mission and Westwood, as well as the planning director for Kansas City, and all three people I spoke with have said the same thing, that they've had that discussion, and Walmart will not alter that layout. So another option is to provide an outdoor area, shift some of the parking that's between the east side of the building and Blue Ridge Boulevard to other areas, either to the west side of the building or to on-street parking on Blue Ridge Boulevard, which is called for on the Streetscape Master Plan, and create an outdoor public space. In a sense, or in this way, it brings the public area to the building as opposed to bringing the building up to the street. So it would meet the intent of the regulation, but in a different way than say the design standards would call for it. There's different challenges and issues with that. One, that public space would need to be maintained by somebody. I don't think we can expect Walmart to maintain a public space for the community. So the city or somebody would have to come up to maintain the applicant has explained to us is on the service area behind the building. The service drive that comes around the north side of the building, trucks will enter off of Raytown Road, come through, basically come across east across the back side of the building and then back in to their dock area. They need a minimum of, they need 220 feet area to pull in and then back in without getting out off the property. By moving the building, to shift some of that parking, the building would need to be shifted approximately 20 feet to the east. By doing that, would allow one row of parking on the east side of the building to be moved to the west side of the building. But by doing that 20 feet, it reduces that 220-foot distance the truck needs, and would push it, cause the truck to then block the sidewalk or get into the approach on Blue Ridge Boulevard and back into the loading dock. So it creates an issue in that regard there. So that's still, it's an ongoing discussion in that regard. So the next design element is set 2 lines of maximum setbacks. This you've heard before earlier tonight, specifies that the building be located adjacent to the sidewalks along the street. Because this property fronts on 4 different streets, compliance with this standard along all the streets is very difficult, if not nearly impossible for this project. Therefore, a waiver to this requirement would be needed, at least on part of the property. Ground floor transparency is the next element. This relates to providing windows along each side of a building facing the street. The design that you've seen and what's been discussed tonight, the orientation of the building is to the south towards the parking lot, which would have windows in the front entrance, which is not towards the street. The east and west sides of the building would be applicable to this side. Those sides do not have windows, or they are not proposed to have windows. Talking with the applicants to put windows in disrupt or would not provide the intent of the regulations anyway as far as allowing visibility into the store, because it would not be a customer area, it would be into a service area or the storage areas of the store. Again, I spoke with community development director with some of the other cities that are dealing with neighborhood markets as well, or have been or have previously. Same issue on their standards, same response, that not able to come up with a solution to that issue. So, weather protection is the next design element. Their design standards that are proposed do include standards for the weather protection. Their standards that are proposed are not as detailed, however, as those contained in the CBD design element, in our CBD design standards. The next one is storefront and building facade composition. The proposed design standards that have been submitted include standards for the ground level building facades, and they touched on those. While their standards generally are the same, their proposed standards are slightly less detailed as the CBD design standards. Ground level details is the next element. Their proposed design standards do include ground level design details. Again, they do not specify the minimum number of architectural features that our standards do, but they do that need to be incorporated into the building facade. And I think that's a detail that could be worked out. Upper levels. Yes.
Another question. How much flexibility and leeway are you going to have, or staff going to have, regarding the storefront and building facade composition? Because they are less detailed, and Walmart does have a tradition of being, lowest prices and possibly a lower quality than what our expectations are. How much leeway are the staff going to have on that?
That's why we're here before you and the board involvement, because that's for you guys, the board, to make that determination on how much leeway you and then ultimately the board would like to give them. Upper level setbacks is the next element. This standard is not applicable as this is a one-story building. That regulation applies to buildings that are over 2 stories in height, requiring the 3rd floor to be set back slightly from the distance from the front facade of the 1st and 2nd floors. So therefore it's not applicable. Roof expression is the next design element. The building proposed proposal will comply with the standard. The roof expression in this area downtown calls, and the CBD design standards call for a flat roof with some variation on the facade, but not as opposed to a sloped roof. The building that you've seen that they provided the perspective images of is a flat roof, and will meet this standard. Backsides of buildings is the next element. This requires architectural features to be incorporated into the exterior facade of the backside of the building facing the street, and would be applicable to the east and west sides of the building. This section also provides standards for screening, service, and delivery areas, which are applicable to the north or the rear of the building. Their design standards don't address, or their proposed design standards do not address or incorporate this directly through their ground level details. It touches on it, but it doesn't go to the same extent as what our CBD design standards do on this. Concealing structured parking, proposed design standards. This standard is not applicable to the proposed development, as will not have structured parking. Screening blank walls is the next element. The portions of the retaining wall proposed to be located on the rear of the building or north side, which are visible from Raytown Road, and on the west side of the retaining wall at the west end, and on the east end of the retaining wall from Blue Ridge Boulevard, would be subject to this requirement. And their proposed design standards do not address that. Materials is the next standard. The proposed design standards.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
I want to ask the applicant a quick question. Actually, three questions. I know a lot of these things you would probably do if this is approved to final design. Are you willing to give any kind of additional detail, for example, for item E, F, and I guess we are on item K about the blank walls?
Hi there. I will address K as far as it relates to the retaining walls. And if I'm understanding correctly, just so everyone knows where the retaining wall is, it's this dark line. Starts about there, comes up here, ends right there. It is a cut wall also, meaning the face of the wall will actually be towards the back drive, if you will. This will be grass on top. So you won't actually see the wall as you're driving down the street. On top of the wall for safety, we would put a chain link fence, typically, and I would say that we could put up a screen fence along this wall top so that your visibility of the operations going on behind the store here would be further screened. And not only the 7 foot, it's about 7 to 8 feet, I believe, right here. Tapers off, of course, to the ends, but you get the 7 foot wall, and then on top of that, we could go, another 6 foot wall. So you'd have like a 13 foot screen shielding the back operations of the store at that location.
And you say a screen wall, would that be decorative? Could that be decorative, or versus the chain link?
Yeah, I think tonight I'll tell you we wouldn't propose a chain link fence here. We could put up a different type of material. I mean, a vinyl wall. It would be a site-proof wall for sure. And then those are the kind of details that would be presented and discussed as part of the staff review. But I'll tell you tonight we wouldn't put up a chain link fence.
In terms of the other articulation on the sides and the rear, we're fully prepared to work with staff and come to a suitable design that they're comfortable with and our client will be comfortable with as well. We don't see this as a impediment to gaining approval. We just need to sit down and talk about the specifics of it.
Materials is the next design element under this section of the CBD design standards. relates to the exterior building materials. They address the exterior materials in their design standards, with the exception of the integral color split face CMU, which is split face concrete block, and metal anodized storefront systems. Their proposed standards are consistent with the CBD design standards for materials. Just to clarify, the split face CMU, it's the same material that the Wal-Mart Supercenter on Highway 350 has on its exterior. Just if you are familiar with that. As far as colors, that's the next design element. Their proposed design standards are generally consistent with the color standards specified in the CBD design standards. The third and final section of the CBD design standards relates to commercial sign design. There's three elements to this: integration with architecture, sign design, and artistic elements. The integration with architecture, as you can see on their perspective images, they show where the signage generally would be from the perspective, so they're integrating it into the design. We haven't got to that stage, or they haven't submitted detailed plans yet to really address that, but typically on new construction that would be a part of it. The sign design itself, their conceptual site plan 1G, as well as their site design standards that are proposed call for signage to calls for installation of a 10-foot high monument sign along each street that the building faces. That would be Blue Ridge Boulevard, 62nd, and Graytown Road. As this is proposed, the monument signs are not consistent with the CBD design standards. In addition, the height of the monument signs at 10 feet are 5 feet above the maximum height allowed by our sign regulations for monument signs within the neighborhood commercial district. So
I'm going to interrupt you real quick with signs. If we could have the applicant point out where the proposed signs are, we don't see them on the plan that we have.
Yeah, you don't see them because they're not there. Typically, the monument sign, of course, would be along the road frontage. We wouldn't be putting up, we would not be putting up 4 monument signs. I can also assure you of that this evening.
No sign on 62nd Street, no monument sign. There's no point.
If I were to guess where it ends up being, and again, one of the reasons we don't show it this evening is the landscaping plan comes into play, the site utilities come into play, a lot of things come into play, the sidewalks and the streetscape come into play. Typically, and I would think that you would probably have a monument sign possibly in this location, possibly in this location, maybe possibly in this location. I'm not saying at all 3 locations, but it would be in those general locations. And again, there's a lot of site design criteria that need to go into determining where those signs would end up being. And I believe that's all part of, again, the site plan approval process and separate signage permitting. So.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, while you're up here, when you pointed to the 3rd location for a monument sign, was that the southeast parking lot that is at 63rd Street? Did you point to that?
I pointed this location, possibly one here, or possibly one here.
Okay, so the one furthest south, that'd be the southeast parking lot. I even question that parking lot also. I know that isn't about the sign, but that seemed, the parking lot at that location, is that just to achieve enough spaces? It seems a long way off from the store.
Sure, I can explain those parking. And along with that parking, that was one of the very first staff comments before we were showing a gas station there. That many Wal-Mart neighborhood markets are accompanied by a gasoline station. And that was one of the staff comments. We really wouldn't prefer no gas at this site. So we did pull that from the site. What that parking would be used for would be associate parking. So our employees and associates at the actual store would park in this area, leaving the main parking field more convenient to our customers.
So, if that would have been a gas station, where would the associates park?
Good question. We also did accommodate some parking on the sides of the gas, and at that time, and I believe even as late as Sketch Plan 1F, we were taking up the entire southeast quadrant. So there would have been additional parking spaces in those locations.
And when you describe the southeast quadrant, the existing building, is that part of the package? I mean, it shows the building there next to the parking lot now. Will that building be there, or is that something you're trying to acquire as part of the plan?
Yes, I think that we're trying to acquire it. It's not necessary for the site plan before you. I think it would enhance the corner, and I think staff had mentioned that's one of the things that we're still trying to work on.
I would be interested to know how many businesses are going to be lost there for that space.
How many businesses would be lost?
The southeast lot that you're trying to acquire.
How many businesses are there today? Is that the question?
No, how many are we going to lose?
I can't answer that, ma'am. I'm sorry.
My name is Jeff Clayton with JMC Realty. I'm the entity that originally contracted with the city on the property. I've been negotiating and have spoken with every one of the property owners along 63rd Street. And the question that was asked was, how many businesses would we lose? The Fraternal Order of Police is on the southeast corner. So in terms of if we were able to work anything out with them, I don't think you're losing any businesses, because that isn't a business entity that is there. It is a meeting space for the police department. And if they aren't there, my conversations with them have been they'd move it somewhere else. The adjacent facility, I apologize because I don't recall which is which, but there's a catering banquet operation at one of those facilities that the owners and I have contracted for. If our project proceeds, they would relocate that business somewhere else. The adjacent business, I think, was the office supply business that has been vacant for in excess of a long period of time. So I don't think any business is being lost or displaced with that either. With that.
Thank you.
Going back to the sign design, specifically the monument sign, because this is a planned district in Greater Heights, the monument sign that is proposed, as well as the locations of the monument sign, can be approved as part of the planned district. But I want to point that out, that specific aspect is not in compliance with the sign regulations as well as the CBD design standards. The last element is the artistic elements. This standard allows artistic three-dimensional signs to be installed. It does not count towards any business that in the CBD that has artistic sign elements. They can install that. They have about 10 sign permit, but it doesn't count the size of those signs. It does not count towards their overall sign area that's allowed for the business. In this case, we're proposing to eliminate that, and we receive no information that they would be proposing artistic elements. So in that regard, it's an optional design element. That's the overview of the CBD design elements. I'd like to touch on the town square overlay district that is proposed to be removed from the property. The aspect of what that impacts, there's two parts to that that primarily is impacted. The town square overlay district, the neighborhood commercial zoning district, which is the base zoning for the property, requires a 30-foot front yard setback along each street. The town square overlay district removes that 30-foot setback requirement, minimum setback. In place, it establishes a 5-foot maximum setback, which requires the building to be located within 5 feet of the front property line. As I talked about before, that would apply to 3 streets, which would be very difficult for the building, one building to apply to that on all 3 streets as proposed. The other aspect of this, of the town square overlay district, it does not require any off-street parking. It removes all off-street parking requirements. If that town square overlay district is removed, the city's off-street parking requirements that apply to the property based on the square footage of the building, they would have to provide off-street parking. So the intent there was not requiring off-street parking to encourage shared parking, but also promote the more water, increase walkability of the downtown area. I will stop with that, unless you'd like to go through the staff recommendation.
Not at this time. I think what we'd like to do actually is take a 10-minute recess. We've been sitting here a long time, and our audience has been here a long time. So if we could take 10